You have spent years believing you were simply too ordinary for God to do something history has never seen before. Tonight, that belief runs out. Chosen one, there is a reason you clicked on this exact message out of everything else you could have been watching right now. It is not curiosity. It is recognition, the kind that happens right before something in your spirit remembers what your mind forgot. God is about to do something he has never done before, not in your life, not in recorded history. And the reason is sitting exactly where you are right now, watching this. Not because you are the most qualified, not because you did everything right, because every single condition he required has finally lined up at the same time, for the first time in you. By the end of this message, you will understand exactly what has kept you feeling invisible for so long, even while something in you always suspected you mattered more than your circumstances suggested. You will feel the exact moment your identity shifts, from someone simply watching history to someone who is quietly, undeniably, part of how it happens. And you will be given one thing you can do tonight, before this message ends, to finally step into that role instead of doubting it away, one more time. Because what looks impossible to you right now is not magic, and it was never random luck either. It is a law you were simply never shown, one that only activates through the exact combination of circumstances, timing, and person that you are. You are not a bystander in this story, chosen one. You are the reason it finally happens, and in the next few minutes, you are going to see exactly why. Here is something small to notice right now. Before we go further, think of the last time someone complimented something you did well, and you immediately explained it away, said it was nothing, or quietly changed the subject. That reflex, the one that shrinks the moment it is seen, is not humility. It is a signal, and tonight, it finally gets explained. Think, too, of how often you have watched someone with half your preparation walk into a room and take up all the space, while you stood 2 steps back, waiting to be invited forward, a permission that sometimes never came. You told yourself they were simply bolder, but boldness was never the missing ingredient in you. And think of the nights you lay awake with a strange certainty that something significant was still ahead of you, even though nothing in your circumstances backed that feeling up yet. That certainty was not wishful thinking. It was memory, the kind your spirit carries even when your mind has not caught up to it. None of that was random. None of it was your imagination running away with you. Chosen one, patterns like this do not appear by accident, and once you can name a pattern clearly, it stops running your life quietly in the background. You tell yourself you are simply modest or realistic about your limits. But chosen one, something in you has always known there was more going on than modesty. There is a specific reason that reflex exists, and in a few minutes, I am going to show it to you clearly, maybe for the first time in your life. If you have ever downplayed something you knew, deep down, actually mattered, type, "I see it" below right now, before we continue. Let this message know you are still here, still present, still willing to look closer. Chosen one, let me show you 5 signs that you are not simply witnessing something unprecedented, you are part of why it is happening. 1. You have carried a strange sense of destiny since childhood. 1. You rarely say out loud, because it sounds too big for someone like you. 2. You notice patterns and connections other people miss entirely, as if your mind was built to see the shape of things before they fully arrive. 3. You feel a pull toward moments and rooms that seem too important for someone with your background, and yet you keep ending up in them anyway. 4. You have been quietly preparing for something you cannot fully name, reading, praying, learning, long before you had a reason to. 5. You feel an ache when you see history unfolding around you, a sense that you are meant to be closer to the center of it than you currently are. If 2 or more of those are true of you, chosen one, this message did not find you by accident. I have watched this exact pattern before, in people who never once believed they qualified for what happened next. It always follows the same order. First, an unexplainable inner certainty. Then, Years of feeling passed over, while people with less preparation stepped forward instead. Then, a season of quiet doubt, where the person starts to assume the certainty was simply wishful thinking all along. And then, if they are still listening when a message like this one reaches them, comes the actual unveiling. Here is the truth underneath everything you have felt but could never quite explain. What you thought was you being overlooked was actually a mind that had not yet learned to trust its own significance. And once that trust is restored, not by proof, not by permission from anyone else, but by a simple, restored clarity, you stop standing 2 steps back and start stepping fully into the room. That is the entire shift, chosen one. Not more waiting, not more preparing in secret. A restored clarity about a role you were always going to carry, whether you believed it yet or not. Think about your own life honestly for a moment. How many rooms, conversations, or opportunities have quietly confirmed there was more in you than you were choosing to walk in? That is not coincidence. That is a nameable pattern, and in a few minutes, I will show you exactly where it lives and exactly how it formed. This is not only your pattern to carry alone, either. Most people who feel destined for something larger were never taught what to do with that feeling, so they learned to quiet it instead, the same way their parents quieted theirs and their parents before them. Somewhere back in your family line, someone else likely felt exactly what you feel now and had no framework for carrying it, so it got filed away as foolishness, or pride, or an overactive imagination, rather than what it actually was. But a pattern learned across generations can still be interrupted in a single one. Starting tonight, starting with you, the way a single dam gate finally opening releases water that has been pressing against it for years. Here is something else worth naming honestly. Being the reason something unprecedented happens does not require you to feel ready. It has never required that. Not once. In the pattern I have watched play out again and again. It only requires that the fog covering your own significance finally lifts long enough for you to see clearly what has been true about you the entire time. Here is the pattern, named plainly. Now, you downplay compliments the instant they land. You assume any recognition sent your way is a mistake, or luck, or someone being kind, rather than accurate. You shrink slightly in rooms where you actually have something valuable to offer, letting quieter, less prepared voices take the space instead. Not because you lack the ability, something else takes over first, faster than you can even notice it happening. You tell yourself you are simply being humble or realistic about your limits. But chosen one, that has never actually been the truth, even if it is the story you have told yourself for years. Here is what is actually happening underneath the surface. Somewhere in your history, being seen too clearly once felt dangerous, whether through mockery, comparison, or simply watching someone louder get chosen instead of you, again and again. So your mind installed a switch, one job only. Dim your own significance the moment it starts to rise, so you are never fully seen and heard again. We are going to call this the dim switch. Picture a child at a family gathering who once said something true and sharp and watched every adult in the room laugh, not cruelly, but enough. That child learns, instantly and without words, that being fully seen carries a cost. Years later, as an adult, that same person still flinches slightly whenever attention turns toward them, and calls it modesty, never once connecting it back to that one afternoon. Right now, some of you are thinking, I have tried to be more confident before. I have practiced speaking up. It never quite stuck. I understand that frustration, and it is valid. But confidence practiced on the surface does not remove a switch installed underneath it. That is not a failure of discipline. That is simply the wrong tool being aimed at the right problem. The dim switch does not usually announce itself as fear. It shows up as sudden modesty at exactly the wrong moment, as an urge to let someone else speak first, as quiet relief when an opportunity passes you by and the pressure to be seen disappears with it. It is not weakness, it is old protection still running, guarding you from a danger that no longer actually exists in your life. This is why more confidence never seemed to hold. You were reinforcing a room while the switch underneath it stayed exactly where it was installed. So, recontextualize this fully. Every room where you stayed 2 steps back while someone less prepared stepped forward instead, that was never a lack of ability on your part. That was the dim switch firing exactly as it was trained to fire, right when your significance was finally rising into view. The good news is simple. A switch, unlike a permanent trait, can be flipped. It was installed by a moment, or a season, and it can be interrupted by a moment too, the moment you name it clearly, instead of obeying it silently. Here is your agency, starting tonight, before this message even ends. The next time you feel that familiar urge to shrink after doing something well, say quietly to yourself, "This is the switch, not my size." One sentence, spoken silently, is often enough to interrupt a pattern that has dimmed you for years without ever being named out loud. If you just felt that switch fire in you right now, remembering a moment it dimmed you when you should have stepped forward, type, "I see it" below, before we continue. Naming it, even in a single comment, weakens its hold on you a little more tonight. Some of you are thinking, "My situation really is different. You do not know what I have been through, how many times I have already been overlooked, how far behind I actually am compared to where I thought I would be by now." That is a fair thing to feel, and I am not going to argue you out of it. But chosen one, the pattern I have described does not care how far behind you feel or how unique your specific story sounds to you. It runs the same way in every person it touches, regardless of the details, because it was never really about your details in the first place. It was always about a switch, installed early, running quietly, on repeat. Now I want to pause and hold something in front of you before we go further. Over recent years, researchers working with the mind at a much deeper level than confidence coaching ever could have discovered something that quietly explains why the dim switch is so hard to override through willpower alone. I am going to tell you exactly what they found later in this message. But right now, hold this question with me. What if the fog covering your own significance is not only emotional, but something closer to physical? Something sitting in how clearly your mind can actually process its own worth in the moment that matters most. If you want to go deeper into that with me before this message ends, type "understand" below right now. Here is the deeper layer, and this one explains why the fog never seems to lift completely, even after moments of real clarity. Somewhere along the way, you decided you needed undeniable proof before you would fully believe you were meant for something significant. A sign large enough, a title official enough, a moment obvious enough that no one, including you, could argue with it. You tell yourself you are simply being careful, waiting for confirmation before you commit fully to believing in yourself. But, chosen one, that waiting has quietly become its own trap. Here is what is actually happening. We are going to call this the proof trap. Proof was never going to arrive before belief. In almost every pattern like this I have watched, belief always comes first, uncomfortable and unconfirmed, and the proof follows only after someone was willing to act while it was still missing. Think about the moments in scripture and history you already admire most. Almost none of them began with the person feeling fully ready or fully proven. Most began with someone acting while the outcome was still genuinely uncertain, while the fog had not cleared, while the proof everyone else was waiting for had not arrived yet either. So, recontextualize this too. Every time you waited for one more sign before stepping forward, that was never wisdom protecting you from foolishness. That was the proof trap, quietly keeping the door open just long enough for someone else to walk through it first. Here is your agency tonight. Stop waiting for the proof. The proof was never the missing piece. Belief, acted on while still unconfirmed, is the actual mechanism, and it always has been, in every story like this one that ever became history. Hold that image for a moment. Someone stepping forward while the proof was still missing, while the fog had not fully cleared yet, and history bending around that single choice anyway. That image is closer to where this message is headed than you realize right now. But here is what most messages like this one never say. What you have learned so far tonight is true, but without what comes next, it will only work at a fraction of its actual capacity. Here is what you now know, that you did not know a short while ago. The reason you have felt overlooked was never a lack of destiny, and never a lack of preparation. It was two patterns, the dim switch and the proof trap, both running quietly underneath. Almost every moment you shrank, instead of stepping forward. Naming them tonight gives you the first real tool, catching the switch the moment it fires, and refusing to wait for proof that was never going to arrive first anyway. But the identity underneath all of this is simple. You are not someone waiting to witness history from a safe distance. You are the catalyst, the exact combination of timing, preparation, and person this unprecedented moment required, whether you have fully believed it yet or not. That is who you have been afraid of becoming. That is not who you are required to stay. In 1981, the Nobel Prize in Physiology was awarded for a discovery that quietly explains everything we just walked through together. Researchers found that the two halves of the human brain, when finally synchronized instead of working in conflict, unlock a level of clarity and self-recognition that most adults rarely experience. Around 98% of children still operate at this level naturally. By adulthood, fewer than 1 in 1,000 still do. Modern life, comparison, and years of being quietly overlooked slowly erode it, not because anything is wrong with you, but because nobody ever taught you how to restore it. A woman in California said the strangest part of restoring this clarity was not feeling more confident. Exactly. It was finally being able to see her own worth without needing someone else to confirm it first. A man in Texas, who had spent years assuming he was simply forgettable, said the shift felt like a fog lifting off a photograph he had been staring at his whole life without ever seeing clearly. That is because of what a team I am about to describe discovered. A team of neuroscientists led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York spent years studying this exact synchronization and built a simple 8-minute audio experience around it. They call it the Genius Switch. The Genius Switch. It is not a brain frequency gimmick, and it is not another meditation app asking for more of your attention. With headphones, 8 minutes a day, it guides both halves of your brain back into the synchronization researchers first described, gently, while you simply listen. The Genius Switch is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who is finally ready to stop dimming their own significance and start walking fully into the room instead of standing 2 steps back from it. In person, this kind of neural retraining through a specialist can run $300 an hour, and a comparable home device has sold for $7,000. The Genius Switch was built to sell for $49. Today, on this specific page only, it is available for $39, with 4 bonuses included at no extra cost: a guided visualization audio, a smart grocery guide for foods linked to mental fog, a classic manifestation book, and a printable 5 habits guide. Every purchase is covered by a full, unconditional money-back guarantee. Listen once, listen 80 times. If it does not serve you, you are simply refunded, no questions asked. I will say this plainly. The real cost here was never money. It has always been time. The same time the dim switch and the proof trap have already cost you, quietly, for years. One thing worth naming directly: if you search for anything sounding similar online, you will find tracks with no real synchronization technology behind them, wearing a similar name because doing so costs nothing. The description and the pinned comment below point to the one verified page, if your spirit resonates with this tonight. The tool I just described does not replace God, and it does not replace the calling He already placed on your life. It simply removes an old switch sitting in the way of a mind already being restored. A tool that helps you finally see your own significance, clearly gives what God is doing even more of what it was always meant to land inside. And for the chosen one who felt something stir the moment the mind was mentioned earlier tonight, that door is still open in the description below. It is a small step, but small steps taken from a clear mind have changed entire histories before, and they can change yours. Before this message ends, I want to speak something over your life, chosen one, so stay with me for one more moment. Thank you, quietly, for every room this person stood in with something real to offer, even when they stood 2 steps back instead of stepping forward. Thank you for the certainty that never fully left, even in the years it went unspoken. Right now, release the dim switch. Release the proof trap. Release the years spent waiting for permission that was never actually required. Release the fear of being fully seen. Release every excuse that ever felt safer than stepping forward. Release the belief that ordinary was ever the ceiling on your life. Release it, all of it, tonight, completely. I am the catalyst, not the bystander. I am the reason, not an accident standing nearby when something happened. I am carrying a significance I no longer need proof to believe, and it starts the moment I stop dimming what was already placed in me. If you receive that declaration tonight, if some part of you just sat up straighter, hearing it, type, "I am ready," below, before you go. And so it is.